You know, there's something that most people never talk about when it comes to getting older, and it's something that affects every single one of us after we hit 60. It's the medical checkups we think are necessary, the tests we blindly trust, and the procedures that we assume are just part of aging. But here's the truth. Not all medical checkups are created equal, and some can actually do more harm than good if you're not careful. Today, I want to talk to you about something most doctors won't openly discuss, something I wish someone had told me years ago, 5 medical checkups I would personally never get after 60, and why. Stick with me because this might completely change the way you think about your health and the way you approach aging. Let's start with the first one, and it's probably one you've done or considered doing. Most people assume that a full-body MRI or CT scan is the ultimate way to catch everything early. The idea is seductive, right? You want that peace of mind thinking that if you catch a problem early, you can fix it before it becomes serious. But here's the kicker. For someone over 60, full body scans often lead to more anxiety, more unnecessary tests, and procedures that carry real risks. I'm talking about false positives, finding something that looks concerning but really isn't. That tumor or lesion might never cause you a problem in your lifetime, yet suddenly you're on a roller coaster of biopsies, scans, and maybe even surgeries that you didn't need. The stress alone can weaken your immune system, increase inflammation, and paradoxically make you less healthy, not more. And the radiation exposure from repeated CT scans isn't something to ignore either. So while catching disease early is important, full-body scans are not always your friend after 60. I personally avoid them unless there's a very specific reason. The second checkup I would think twice about is routine prostate screening, specifically the PSA test. Now, hear me out because this is controversial. For decades, men over 60 have been told to get their PSA levels checked annually, and the fear of prostate cancer looms large. But the PSA test is far from perfect. It can't tell the difference between aggressive cancer that actually needs treatment and slow-growing cancer that would never affect your life. Many men end up undergoing biopsies, surgeries, or radiation for cancers that were harmless, and the side effects can be devastating. Think incontinence, sexual dysfunction, and long-term stress. And the truth is, prostate cancer is often slow-growing, especially in men over 60. The likelihood that a small, early detected tumor would actually affect your lifespan is lower than most people think. So I focus on lifestyle, monitoring changes, and discussing any symptoms carefully with my doctor rather than blindly following annual PSA testing. This is about making informed choices, not living in fear of a number on a lab sheet. Next on my list is the routine colonoscopy. Don't get me wrong, colonoscopies have saved lives, but here's the nuance. After 60, the risk of complications rises, and the procedure itself is not without danger. There's the sedation, the bowel prep, the chance of perforation, bleeding, or infection. And here's something most people don't consider. Many polyps that are found in older adults are slow growing, and removing them may not actually improve your long-term outcomes. I'm not saying skip colon health, far from it, but I've shifted my focus to non-invasive screening methods like stool tests, FIT tests, or even newer DNA-based tests that can detect risk without putting my body through the trauma of a colonoscopy unless it's truly warranted. And let's be honest, the prep itself is brutal. The fasting, the laxatives, the multiple bathroom trips, it's not exactly what I would call enjoyable or gentle on the body after 60. The fourth checkup that I would personally avoid is full-body bone density scans, the DEXA scans, if you're otherwise healthy. Osteoporosis is a legitimate concern as we age, but the reality is that these scans are often overused. They can cause unnecessary worry, and they rarely change the treatment plan if you're already maintaining good nutrition, doing weight-bearing exercises, and taking recommended supplements like vitamin D and calcium. I focus more on lifestyle interventions, strength training, balance exercises, walking, and diet than obsessing over a number on a scan. Sure, If you have a family history or prior fractures, a bone density scan can be useful, but routine scanning without risk factors can create anxiety and doesn't always translate into better outcomes. I'd rather invest my energy into building strong bones naturally than stressing over a piece of paper. Finally, the fifth checkup I would never pursue blindly is routine heart imaging like coronary calcium scoring or advanced cardiac CT scans in asymptomatic adults. Heart disease is the #1 killer, and it's natural to want a crystal clear picture of your arteries. But here's the reality. If you're symptom-free and managing your blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and lifestyle, these tests often provide little actionable insight. They can uncover minor plaque deposits that will never cause a heart attack in your lifetime, but can trigger unnecessary medications, stress, or even procedures. I focus on preventive measures that truly work. Maintaining a healthy diet rich in vegetables, fruits, healthy fats, lean protein, staying active daily, and monitoring key health metrics with simple blood work rather than diving into expensive, high radiation imaging that may or may not make a difference. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying ignore your health. Far from it. Regular checkups, blood work, and preventive care are critical after 60. But the key is discernment, not blanket testing. You have to ask yourself, will this test genuinely improve my quality of life or just create unnecessary worry? Will it guide decisions that truly matter for my health? The truth is, after 60, quality of life, energy, mobility, and mental sharpness often matter far more than chasing every possible disease marker. Let's take a moment to talk about why this approach works for me. I focus on measurable lifestyle habits that have been proven to reduce disease risk, staying physically active, eating nutrient-dense foods, prioritizing sleep, maintaining social connections, managing stress, and staying mentally engaged. These interventions don't carry the risks of invasive testing, and the benefits compound over time. Every step you take to support your body naturally, like strength training to maintain muscle, walking to support cardiovascular health, eating anti-inflammatory foods, offers protection that no scan or test can replicate. And here's another important point. Medical interventions often make headlines because they are dramatic. A new test, a new procedure, a new screening technique. It all sounds cutting edge. But cutting edge doesn't always mean life-saving, especially for someone over 60. What matters most is evidence, long-term outcomes, and minimizing harm. That's why I take a conservative approach to medical checkups. I don't chase every new test that comes along. I prioritize interventions that are proven to make a difference and avoid those that may create more harm than benefit. I also encourage you to have honest conversations with your healthcare provider. Ask questions like, what is the real benefit of this test for me at my age? And what are the risks of complications or false positives? Don't be afraid to seek second opinions or explore alternative, less invasive screening options. Your health is your responsibility, and being informed is your best defense against unnecessary procedures. Another thing I've learned over the years is that our culture tends to promote fear around aging and disease. We're told to check every box, screen every possible organ, and scan for every potential problem. But the truth is, aging is natural, and not every abnormality needs intervention. Many small issues can be managed with lifestyle, mindfulness, and careful monitoring rather than aggressive testing. By understanding which checkups offer real value and which are often unnecessary after 60, you regain control over your health decisions and reduce stress and anxiety, both of which are critical to longevity and overall well-being. I also want to mention that avoiding certain checkups doesn't mean ignoring symptoms. If you notice changes in your body, unexplained pain, or new symptoms, absolutely get evaluated. But routine blanket testing, especially those 5 checkups I mentioned, shouldn't be automatic. It's about personalizing your health plan based on your lifestyle, family history, and individual risk factors. That's the approach that has helped me maintain energy, vitality, and confidence in my health decisions. And here's something people often overlook. Mental and emotional health play a huge role in how we age. Stress, anxiety, and fear can accelerate aging, affect immunity, and even contribute to heart disease. By avoiding unnecessary medical procedures and focusing on preventive lifestyle strategies, I protect not just my physical health, but my peace of mind. Health is more than numbers and scans. It's how you feel, move, and live your life. So, to wrap this up, though I won't literally wrap because we're diving deep, I want you to remember these key ideas. First, more testing isn't always better, especially after 60. Second, invasive procedures carry real risks, and sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease. Third, lifestyle interventions are powerful, proven, and low-risk ways to maintain health and vitality. And finally, your health decisions should be thoughtful, informed, and tailored to your personal needs rather than following the conventional checklist blindly. If you take anything away from this video, let it be this. You have the power to take control of your health in a smart, proactive way. You don't have to follow every trend, every new screening, or every scary headline. Focus on what truly matters, living a long, active, and joyful life. Avoid unnecessary interventions that can cause harm, and prioritize those habits that strengthen your body, mind, and spirit. That's how you age well, and that's how you stay in control of your health after 60. Now, I know this might feel controversial to some of you, and that's okay. Health decisions are deeply personal, and what works for one person may not be right for another. But my hope is that by sharing my approach, the 5 medical checkups I personally avoid after 60, you'll feel empowered to make thoughtful choices, ask better questions, and focus on the interventions that truly make a difference in your life. Because at the end of the day, aging isn't about chasing every possible disease marker. Aging is about staying strong, staying mobile, staying sharp, and enjoying life on your terms. Avoid the unnecessary tests that create stress, prioritize what really matters, and watch how your health, energy, and confidence flourish. You've got this, and your best years can absolutely be ahead of you. You know, when it comes to heart health, there's so much fear and so much pressure to do everything possible to avoid a heart attack, to avoid clogged arteries, to avoid cardiovascular disease, especially as we get older. It feels like every year there's a new test, a new scan, a new technology that promises to give you the ultimate insight into your heart. And I get it, the appeal is real. You want certainty, you want a crystal clear picture of what's happening inside your body. But here's the thing that most people don't realize, and it's something I've learned the hard way and through years of research and talking to experts. Advanced heart imaging for people who don't have symptoms, meaning you feel fine, your energy is good, your blood pressure is reasonable, your cholesterol isn't dangerously high, often gives you information that doesn't actually change the way you live or the outcomes for your heart. These scans, whether it's coronary calcium scoring, cardiac CT angiography, or other advanced imaging, can detect minor plaque, small deposits, or early atherosclerosis. And while that sounds alarming, the reality is that most of these findings are things your body can live with for years without causing any real problems. The problem isn't that the plaque exists, it's the stress, the anxiety, and the cascade of interventions that can follow, interventions that may not actually improve your health and could even put you at risk. Let's talk about what these tests do. Coronary calcium scoring, for example, is designed to see calcium deposits in your arteries. It can give a number, a score, which supposedly predicts your risk of future heart events. Sounds useful, right? But here's the nuance. A high calcium score might make you worry unnecessarily, push you into medications you may not need, or even create a sense of panic about your health. And a low score might make you feel invincible and ignore other important risk factors. These tests don't exist in a vacuum. They need context, interpretation, and follow-up. And for people over 60, the risk of complications from additional testing, whether invasive follow-ups, biopsies, or procedures, is real. Every scan exposes your body to radiation. Every additional test has potential side effects, and the mental burden can be enormous. I've watched countless people get caught in this cycle. One scan shows something minor, then another scan, then medications, then procedures, all for a problem that might never have caused symptoms in the first place. So if advanced imaging isn't the first line for someone without symptoms, what should we focus on? The answer is actually quite simple, and it's been proven over decades of research. Concentrate on the fundamentals: blood pressure, cholesterol, diet, and movement. These are the pillars of heart health, and unlike a scan that only shows you an image, these interventions have a measurable impact on outcomes. Let's start with blood pressure. High blood pressure, or hypertension, is often called the silent killer because it can damage your arteries, heart, kidneys, and brain without causing obvious symptoms. But the good news is that it's one of the most modifiable risk factors for heart disease. By monitoring your blood pressure regularly, eating a diet lower in sodium, managing stress, maintaining a healthy weight, and staying active, you can dramatically reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke. You don't need a fancy scan to know that if your blood pressure is consistently high, action is required, and that action often starts with lifestyle. Cholesterol is another area where people often get caught up in numbers and fancy imaging. LDL cholesterol is commonly called bad cholesterol, HDL is good cholesterol, and triglycerides are also part of the picture. But here's what's important. The focus shouldn't just be on the numbers themselves, it's on the context of your overall health. A person with mildly elevated LDL who exercises regularly, eats a balanced diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats may have a lower risk than someone with perfect numbers, but a sedentary lifestyle, high stress, and poor nutrition. Diet is absolutely critical. Eating whole, minimally processed foods, prioritizing vegetables and fiber, avoiding trans fats and excessive sugar, and including healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish can reduce inflammation, stabilize plaque, and support your arteries in ways that no scan can replicate. The effects are cumulative over years, and this is where the real power lies: making consistent choices that nourish your heart day after day. Movement is the third cornerstone, and it's something we can all control. Regular physical activity strengthens the heart muscle, improves circulation, helps maintain healthy blood pressure, boosts HDL cholesterol, reduces inflammation, and keeps your arteries flexible. Walking, swimming, cycling, yoga, strength training, all of these contribute to a heart that functions efficiently well into your later years. The key is consistency, not intensity. Even a brisk 30-minute walk most days of the week can make a profound difference. And it's not just about formal exercise. Staying active throughout the day, taking stairs, gardening, playing with grandkids, these small movements accumulate and significantly impact cardiovascular health. One thing people often forget is that stress has a direct impact on the heart. Chronic stress raises cortisol, increases blood pressure, promotes inflammation, and can accelerate plaque buildup. Advanced heart scans don't measure your stress, but it's one of the most significant modifiable risk factors for heart disease. Mindfulness practices, meditation, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, and nurturing social connections all contribute to a healthier heart and reduce your overall risk in ways that imaging can't capture. Sleep is another often overlooked aspect of heart health. Poor sleep contributes to high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and systemic inflammation, all of which are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Again, no scan will tell you if you're getting restorative sleep, but tracking your sleep patterns, establishing a routine, and prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night can protect your heart. Let's also talk about the mental component of avoiding unnecessary imaging. When people see a small abnormality on a scan, it can trigger a cascade of worry, overtesting, and interventions that don't actually improve outcomes. Anxiety itself affects heart health, elevating blood pressure, increasing stress hormones, and reducing overall resilience. By avoiding advanced imaging unless you have symptoms, you protect your mental well-being and avoid a cycle of fear and unnecessary intervention. The goal is to strengthen the heart, not just in structure, but in function, lifestyle, and resilience. Now, there are, of course, exceptions. If you have a strong family history of early heart disease, if you've had symptoms like chest pain, shortness of breath, or unexplained fatigue, then imaging and tests may be warranted. But for the average person over 60 who feels well and is following healthy lifestyle habits, the benefits of advanced imaging often do not outweigh the risks. The body has remarkable adaptability, and by concentrating on blood pressure, cholesterol, diet, movement, sleep, and stress management, you give your heart the best chance of staying healthy without unnecessary intervention. Medication may have a role, of course, but even here, the principle is targeted therapy rather than blanket treatment prompted by a scan alone. Statins, blood pressure medications, or other interventions should be based on a holistic assessment of risk factors, not just a calcium score or imaging result. And by prioritizing lifestyle, you can often reduce your need for medications, improve their effectiveness, and minimize side effects. One of the most empowering aspects of this approach is that it gives you control. Advanced imaging can make you feel like you're at the mercy of what's inside, but lifestyle changes are actions you can take every day. You can choose what to eat, when, and how to move, how to manage stress, and how to sleep. These are tangible, practical steps that directly influence your heart's health and longevity. And the beauty of focusing on fundamentals is that it benefits more than just your heart. By eating well, moving regularly, managing stress, and sleeping adequately, you also improve brain health, mobility, immune function, hormone balance, and emotional well-being. It's a holistic approach that addresses multiple aspects of aging and quality of life, rather than chasing a number on a scan that may or may not matter. I also want to emphasize the importance of regular monitoring through simple methods. Checking your blood pressure at home, tracking key lab values like cholesterol, triglycerides, blood sugar, and even weight trends gives you actionable information. These are practical, safe, and evidence-based ways to gauge your heart health. When you pair that with consistent lifestyle habits, you're giving yourself far more protection than a single imaging test ever could. The takeaway is clear. After 60, for someone without symptoms, advanced heart imaging is often unnecessary and can create more problems than it solves. Instead, focus on what really counts: controlling blood pressure, managing cholesterol naturally, eating a heart-healthy diet, moving your body consistently, managing stress, and prioritizing sleep. These actions compound over time, build resilience, and give you a strong, functional heart that supports your life instead of dictating it through unnecessary testing. Because at the end of the day, aging isn't about chasing every possible disease marker. Aging is about staying strong, staying mobile, staying sharp, and enjoying life on your terms. Avoid the unnecessary tests that create stress, prioritize what really matters, and watch how your health, energy, and confidence flourish. You've got this, and your best years can absolutely be ahead of you.